as well. Thank you. We have a lot of people to thank, but most importantly, I wish to thank each and one of you here this evening for your love, for your passion, for your support, and for your community spirit, because what makes us unique is our unique point of difference is our community spirit. Yes, we are a business leadership community organization, but we are driven by our community-minded attitude and our caring attitude and our brotherly love, relief, and truth. This is what we stand for. Minister Sophie Kotsis is on her way. She's promised to make her effort. She's driving from the Central Coast, and hopefully as soon as she's in, we welcome her. But I could not delay the event, so we needed to get moving forward. Obviously, this evening would not be possible without amazing sponsors and key partners. First and foremost, to Sydney Water, for their mission, for their vision, for their driving force to make sure that the community is well educated, is well supported, is well understand the precious commodity that we are looking and we need to look after. That's water. And I think nature has been very generous to us recently, and I think another topic that we should be discussing is water harvesting. So maybe Sydney Water, that's another topic we would love to tap into it, water harvesting, since nature has been very generous to us. So to Sydney Water, thank you very much for being a key partner, for being a reason for us to be here this evening. So hopefully tonight we have a presentation and representation from every sector, every industry, community and otherwise. And I'm hoping the message hopefully will resonate, and each one of us will be an ambassador to make sure that we can be water conscious and water wise at the same time. To our sponsors, Painter Dixon, iFlex and Water Tide Group. Again, these kind of events, without the sponsorship, without the caring factor, without the generosity, none of this stuff can be possible. It will be too expensive. But there's people out there who they believe in their corporate responsibility and by giving back, and we can only be lucky and fortunate enough to put it forward. Minister Sophie, please. Thank you. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Minister Sophie. Bill, if we can grab a seat if you can guide Sophie to the table, please. Our area is very fortunate. We have amazing, ample representation on a federal level and a state level. On the federal level, we have Minister Tony Burke and Minister Jason Clare, and both patron of the chamber and both local of this area. On the state level, we have Minister Sophie Kotsis and Minister Jihad Deeb. So it shows how much our region has carry weight, carry heavy sort of strength and capabilities, and we both well represented at the state and the federal level. So to you, Minister Sophie, thank you. Appreciate the support. And obviously later, I'd love you to say a few words, if that's okay. Tonight, we're not just here as business leaders. We're here as stewards of our community and champion of sustainability. In Caribbee Bankstown, where innovation meets resilience, we have the power to lead by example. By making water-wise choices, we're not only protecting our environment, we're future-proofing our businesses and strengthening the fabric of our community. Tonight is about connection and action. It's about learning from one another and committing to real steps that make a difference, not only for our business, but for the generation to come. So I wish to thank you in advance for being here. Let's make this evening an evening of insight, inspiration, and impact. To get the formality, we have a packed schedule and agenda. I'd love to invite our chairman, Bill Parasteris, to extend welcome and greeting to all of you, and then I'll come back, continue with the proceedings. Bill.
Thanks, Wally, and thanks everyone for coming tonight. I have been amiss for a while, and I do see a lot of familiar faces, and apologise that I haven't been around, and always excited to see what Wally brings to our local community and what value he adds to our businesses and how he supports it. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connection to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and extend the respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Tonight's a special occasion particularly because we are talking about a precious commodity. You know, it's something that we all rely on. It's something that most of us take for granted. I have been away because I've been travelling overseas to India, to Indonesia, Vietnam, where whilst water seems abundant, it is a precious commodity. And it's something that we need to realise that we as a people need to appreciate. I won't get caught up in the discussion of climate change or other, but we will have our panel talk about what is real and what is happening in respect to that. I would also like to thank and welcome our sponsors, because without this, we could not bring these things together and inform you to be an LGA that leads by example. And I'd like to thank them. I won't name them one by one, but you could see them here. And I'd like to also acknowledge that they all invest in the local area, not just in what we do here, but they invest in it. Again, water, an ever natural ecosystem, works in balance. An ecosystem in a community made up of all of the living things in the area, the way that it affects each other and the environment. If you remove or damage any part of an ecosystem, it has a knock-on effect on other parts of the system. We've seen that happen with what's happened up at the Nepean around Richmond and Penrith with the new ratings of the 1 in 200 floods. Changes to the water flows have had impacts on the way housing has been developed. People have lost their livelihoods, their value, and their houses being revalued to zero, and insurance companies not wanting to support them. So we need to be smarter about what we do things. And I know Sydney Water's doing great things, and I'm not having a dig at Sydney Water, but I will say that they need to ensure that we get water supplies to our housing abundance and the growth in Western Sydney, which starts here at Bankstown. Water sustainability is vital for the future, for all well-being of humans, marine conservation and socio-economic development. Our water supply is facing a distinct number of challenges, and I said I wasn't going to get caught up in the debate of climate change, but it is something we need to consider. We need to look at how we recycle it. You know, we look at India and they're recycling water, and its drinkability or its purity is better than our tap supply. And I don't even want to tell you where that water's coming from. We don't do those sort of resources. And Sydney Water, I know, is investing heavily in ecosystems that will do circular economies to create that. And I know Roger's going to talk to that, I believe, later on. Again, thank you again to all our sponsors. Without you, the Chamber could not survive. It could not bring these events, and we could not have such a large audience. Let's connect, let's grow, and let's make Canterbury Bankstown great. Thank you. And that's not a Trump statement.
Look, we are proud of our alliance, and we are proud of our partnership with the Bulldogs. So here I wish to acknowledge the Bulldogs team and the Canterbury Leagues Club in force, Deputy Chairman John Curry and the Diane Landmark, amazing key power force that we work closely into community engagement. So to both of them, please, and to your team, thank you very much for your support. We're proud of our partnership and alliance. We have an amazing relationship with charity and otherwise, and more importantly, we have a good relationship with the police force because we do believe and respect the uniform. But more importantly, we have an amazing relationship with the Australian Defence Force. So tonight we have an amazing representation from the Defence Force, and I wish to acknowledge Wing Commander Michael Stewart from the Royal Australian Air Force, Major Nicholas Beattie from the Army, and Major Kylie Freeman from the Army, and Leading Aircraft Command Dean Cox from the Royal Australian Air Force. So please, ladies and gentlemen, acknowledge their presence. I'd love to acknowledge our board members without them as well. They are the engine room. Yes, I'm at the front, but they are the engine room, they are the thinking tank, and they are the power behind me as well. So can I trouble our board members who are here this evening to please stand? Bill, Antoinette, Jeff, Jessica, and Jason. So please, it's about quality, ladies and gentlemen, and these are the quality. So without further ado, can I invite Minister Sophie Costas to say a few words, please?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a real honour and privilege to be here, and it's fantastic to see so many people representing, whether it's our defence force, and I want to thank our servicemen and women. I want to thank you for being here tonight. Of course, all the businesses that are here tonight, the not-for-profits, philanthropic, of course our sporting codes as well. And it's great to be here at Canterbury Leagues Club. I am the local member here, and I want to acknowledge very much the Canterbury Bankstown Chamber of Commerce, who do an incredible job. And I want to thank you, Bill, and I want to thank you, Wally, and the board members for what you do. You're active, you're very proactive, very strategic, and representing all of your interests. And, you know, Wally talks to me and the other ministers, the Treasurer, and I know that he's also had the Planning Minister here, and he has advocated very strongly to have the Planning Minister back here again as well. Tonight's topic is a very important one. I've been in the Central West the last couple of days for a number of things in my portfolio area, but it's certainly a very topical issue, a very important issue, and I want to acknowledge the sponsors here, and also I'm looking forward to the speakers here. And, you know, water is a very precious commodity. I work very closely with our Minister for Water, Minister Rose Jackson, who's doing a really important job. There has been changes to Sydney Water. And the other thing is, particularly from the government's point of view, one of the first things that the government did, particularly what Premier Minns did, to make sure that Sydney Water was never privatised. And what he did was ensure that it is in the Constitution that you cannot privatise Sydney Water. But not only that, there's obviously a number of other organisations that are here to provide support and how we can work together. I know that one of the issues that's been raised with the Planning Minister and with the Treasurer and with the government in general is about, for a number of you who are involved in building and construction, there's an issue around approvals around when you're dealing with water, when you're dealing with Sydney Water in terms of infrastructure. So I'm happy to hear some of those issues and take those on board, Wally, as well. So I'll leave it at that, but this is a fantastic turnout, and I'm very proud to represent this local community, but also for all of you who are leaders in the community, who are entrepreneurs, who run companies, and you do incredible work employing thousands of people. All of you here employ thousands of people. One of the things that we did with Wally a little while ago, I've got responsibility for eye care, and I know that many of you have raised issues about eye care, particularly premium, claims, a whole lot of issues. I know I'm getting off track and I'm going to get, yanked to sit down because we're here to talk about water and water sustainability. But one of the things that we're doing is bringing forward some changes to workers' compensation. And we'll work together with Wally about bringing eye care to provide support and information around some of the changes that we're making and how we can better assist all of you. So thank you for the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to listening to the speakers and hearing what we can take back to government. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Sophie Kotsis. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a moment to meet our sponsors and have a quick chat briefly. So if I may invite a representation from Paynter Dixon, iFlex and Watertight Group to join me on the stage, please. And we have mics on the side. Right, and in the middle, if you like, Joanne, just come this way. Just, grab your mic quickly. No, you don't have to sit down, stand. Be comfortable. Well, let's start with ladies first. Does the mic work first?
Yes.
Well, Joanne, if I can trouble you, first, Watertight Group. Obviously, I'd love you to introduce yourself, but briefly, the question is, Watertight Group is at the front of water management. What solutions are you most proud of that help reduce water waste?
Okay, thanks, Wally. Watertight Group, we are a plumbing business, but we look after a lot of larger businesses and government agencies. So we don't do residential plumbing and we don't do construction plumbing. We do facilities maintenance plumbing and construction of things like water mains. A couple of things that I guess I'm most proud of in this particular area in water sustainability is a couple of projects that we've worked on, very practical things. So one large project was with Sydney Opera House recently. We did a whole lot of work with Sydney Opera House and City of Sydney, where we installed some water-saving devices. We also looked at some metering options and some Internet of Things devices. We're able to save about 25 Olympic swimming pools per year for Sydney Opera House. And that also resulted in almost a $500,000 saving per annum, so a permanent difference in savings for them in their water bill. So that was a really great project.
Thank you, Jo.
Another great one we've worked on is with Sydney University, where we've installed some water fill stations. Within 3 days of installing each water fill station, they were saving 500 plastic bottles. So, yeah, there's some really good projects that are out there.
Thank you, Jo. To iFlex, Jason, innovation is transforming the construction sector at an extraordinary pace. How is iFlex positioning itself to lead this new era of building where functionality, efficiency, and how do you say that? are expected to coexist seamlessly?
Good evening, Wally, and thank you for the opportunity to sponsor this wonderful event. I'm here as a sponsor and also as a board member of this wonderful chamber. Been around for a long time and loving having so many people here tonight. At iFlex, we offer an extensive range of decorative wall and ceiling panels, including features such as wood, stone, marble, and of course mirror finishes. What sets us apart is our ability to combine luxury with affordability. Developers and builders can create a beautiful aesthetic look without compromising construction budgets and, more importantly, reducing the time to complete those projects through a simpler installation process. However, beyond those beauty features, our panels are built for performance. They are fireproof as well as water and moisture resistant, which means that we are the perfect partner in an industry that demands innovation, safety, and versatility.
Thank you, Jason. To Painter Dixon, how does Painter Dixon incorporate sustainable water practices into its building and construction projects? Steve.
Hi, thanks for having me, Wally. Nice to see everybody. Look, through our design and through the systems that we use, so water-saving systems like limiting the amount of water that you use, irrigation systems that we've got to water parks and all that type of school grounds, and then designing landscapes drought resistant, so not relying on water anymore. Even though it's a precious commodity, it's just something that we want to preserve and look after and sustain for the future.
That's amazing. Jo, if I can ask you again, how do your services help businesses and households become more water efficient and environmentally responsible?
Hi. Sorry. There's a whole lot of things that businesses can be doing, and you don't need to do it with us as a licensed plumber, but there's things that everyone can be doing. So things like flexi hoses have been in the news more recently. Making sure you're checking those flexi hoses, making sure that they're not damaged. Checking your water meter. Is it clicking over when you're actually not using water? These are simple things that every business could be doing. And then you could come to us for other things, all those things, but things like, making sure that you have TMVs and your thermostatic mixing valves and backflow devices. Are they being serviced properly? All of those types of things are just really simple little things that every business could be doing.
Thank you for that. Jason, in a market that expects very high standard of safety and durability, how does iFlex products meet these standards?
At iFlex, safety really is the number one priority and consideration. Each product has been rigorously tested against standards we meet Australian standards and Building Code of Australia standards. And thankfully, we've recently obtained Code Mark accreditation. This is equivalent to a gold star standard of accreditation, so we're very proud of those achievements. Our magnesium silicate panels are fireproof, water and moisture resistant, making them safe, durable, and most importantly, environmentally responsible. Really important for us as well. The reason we spend so much time and energy in ensuring this gold star compliance is so that our partners moving forward can come to us with a complete peace of mind, knowing that we meet all the safety requirements in Australian standards. So fundamentally, our product empowers builders and designers to create spaces that are not only visually stunning, but also are compliant with all our standards.
Steve, can you share a recent project where water efficiency played a key role in the design or outcome?
I'll go back as far as 15 years ago. Paynter Dixon set up a division for sustainability where they chose the club and school divisions. So they designed buildings that were automated, so the human didn't have to think. So you'd walk into the room, the lights would turn on. You walked out of the room, the lights would turn off. Then with water, you'd go into the bathrooms. Now there's sensors. There used to be the punish where you used to hold the button and try to wash 2 hands. That was a mission, and there was the pedal before that. So we always looked at evolving our business and designing things that would sort of put in your subconscious, let's save some water, let's save some energy, all that type of stuff. So that division no longer exists because now it's just common practice, and it's a habit that we've incorporated, that everything we do is about sustainability.
I'm going to get off the script, and I think as a last question, we have an amazing audience here from different industry, different backgrounds. The question is to you, how can our amazing people help your business to grow? So just a call to action.
One of the best things about being in a room like this is that you have a whole heap of owners that challenge themselves to lead. They dream big and do what other businesses won't do or other people won't do. Such a wonderful place to be. And we at iFlex share that same spirit for innovation, which makes us a perfect partner for our local business community. Tonight we have an opportunity to connect with an emerging Australian brand that is reshaping and revolutionising the Australian construction industry. Our industry is delivering safe, durable and aesthetically pleasing environments at reduced costs with significant time savings. If you are building a childcare centre, an aged care facility, hotel, office, restaurants or any entertainment venues, iFlex can enrich those spaces with elegance, sophistication and safety without the luxurious price tag. For those developing duplexes, apartments, townhouses, office spaces, retirement villages, our panels enable you to reimagine interiors by moving beyond ordinary gyprock to extraordinary finishes, which will bring projects to life. So if you're ready to step into the future of design and construction, we are ready to partner with you.
Thank you, Jason. Steve?
Yeah, look, it's an honour to be here again, and that Paynter Dixon is always partnering with whoever we can partner with. It's not a job for us, it's a partnership. We evolve. Clubs now are getting into the space of apartments, independent living units, childcare centres, you name it, the clubs are getting into it. Our business isn't just clubs, we also do schools. We just did the MacArthur crematorium or the cemetery. So we go in all facets of construction business. So we want to be a market leader. We want to be seen as the best in the business, which is, high standards to set up in such a competitive market. But that's what we try and achieve, and we're happy to help and support whoever wants to join us on our journey.
Amazing. Joe?
For Watertight Group, our vision is to be the most sought-after plumbing company in Australia. So we're not the biggest, but we want to be the one that people seek out as their facilities partners. But for tonight, I just think around water sustainability is something we're really passionate about. I would like everybody in the room tonight to think about the rule of three, which is you can live without air for three minutes, you can live without food for about 3 weeks, but you can only live without water for about 3 days. So water is one of the most critical things in our lives, and I don't think we give it enough attention. So I was really pleased that Wally chose this as a subject. And even in your business tonight, if you're thinking, well, you know, I'm only an SME like us, we're a small, medium business, I want you to think about in your supply chains where you sit in the supply chain and what you can be doing. And I'd like it if we all think tonight about, you know, putting the business case forward. It might be within your business, but it also might be for your clients. And so I think that's something that resonates with Watertight. Our water saving is on behalf of our clients, not always within our office environment.
Thank you for that. Please, ladies and gentlemen, can you thank our sponsors? Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Steve. Joe, you can stay here because I'm gonna invite you back as a moderator.
Stay behind.
Okay. Thank you, Jason, again, and Steve. This is the moment to call our speakers to join us on the stage, and if I might call on Mike Abbott, Managing Director at Zipwater, Australia, New Zealand and Export. Under his leadership, Zipwater is on a mission to transform the way the world interacts with water, including making a positive impact on the environment with vision for a healthier, more eco-conscious future. Mike, please, the first. Yep. Please. Roger Atwater, Director Environmental Sustainability at Western Sydney University. Roger is a highly accomplished academic in the area of environment sustainability. Roger oversees Western Sydney University Environmental Sustainability Action Plan, related initiatives and living lab engagement opportunities. Roger, please. Andre Borima, Program Manager, Drought at Sydney Water. Andre is an award-winning expert in water efficiency. Andre is focused on developing and testing new water efficiency options, balancing costs with customer demands, ensuring both sustainability and practical implementation. The most famous person this evening, Greg Pickering, CEO of the Canterbury Leagues Club. Greg has 45 years of club management experience and has been involved in several site master plans, incorporating major building projects and refurbishments, including clubs, but also seniors living, health and retails, and food and beverage precincts, shopping centres, and commercial and residential real estate. Greg. Our famous moderator for this evening, Joanne Tonks, is a proud local businesswoman and the co- and general manager at Watertight Group. In 2020, Joanne won a mentoring scholarship for the Prime Minister's Office for Women. Being a mum of 3 girls, Joanne wants to encourage girls to challenge themselves, to be brave and take opportunities. Joanne, take it off.
Thanks, Wally. Well, first, before we get started, I thought since we're in the esteemed Canterbury Leagues Club, we should acknowledge the 6 wins in a row. We won't talk about the weekend just gone, but the 6 wins in a row, well done. Apparently the first time since 1938 that we've had our best start ever, so well done. Very pleased as a proud Bulldogs supporter myself. All right, so we're going to kick off tonight. We're going to have a conversational discussion with everyone, and hopefully everybody can take something away that's very practical out of our discussion tonight with the panel. So, Andre, first, if I can ask from Sydney Water's perspective, you know, I know that Sydney Water has a program called the Water Fix program. I was wondering if you might be able to tell us about that program, because that's a very practical way to kick off our discussion tonight.
Thanks, Joanne. The Water Fix program is actually a program I was involved in the piloting back in 1999 when I first started with Sydney Water. So we've just hit 26 years of this program running continuously. And essentially what it was back in 99 was a way to introduce what was then the first round of what we know now as 3-star showers, you know, efficient showers that are labelled 3 stars, so you had some confidence that they're going to provide something better than what you get in the average caravan park at the time. So the whole point of the WELL scheme, which is the National Water Ratings Labelling Scheme, was to test wash machines, toilets, taps and urinals to ensure they provided the service people expected, but at lower water use. And so it's sort of a hidden aspect of this scheme that you can be guaranteed you'll get a good shower if it's WELS rated. And so that's, well, kicking off WaterFix to basically increase the take-up of what was then, it was a A rating scheme, it wasn't a star rating scheme in the first generation. And when we piloted it down in Wollongong in Shell Harbour, we were expecting what is normally when you engage in communities with the new service, you might expect 5% take-up. We got 25% take-up. So nearly 1 in 5 houses in the whole of Shell Harbour participated in what was then the Every Drop Counts program. And what it is was just a subsidised plumber fixing and targeting taps, toilets, showers and leaks in households. And that service has continued to this day, run non-stop for 25 years. And we've done probably 1 in 3 houses throughout every street in every suburb in Sydney. We're up to over 680,000 houses. And yeah, it continues today. It's branched off now. We use the same brand, WaterFix, to offer services to commercial businesses as well, but still targeting taps, toilets, showers and leaks. So same ablution products, using WELS-rated products, generally at subsidised prices or at cost prices, and trying to remove as many barriers from that face customers, including price, to getting a plumber to fix leaks quickly and affordably.
How do business customers get involved in the program?
So I just kind of alluded to it then. WaterFix now has a commercial arm, and Con here at our table is one of the key people running that. And so basically it's broader than just taps, toilets, showers and leaks, but that is the bread and butter of the program. We're always finding taps, toilets and showers and leaks that could be more efficient. It's not something that anyone can ignore. But Con will also inspect cooling towers, processes that use water in the building or in the factory, whatever it might be, irrigation. The first thing they'll look at is whether there's a leak, and if there's leaks, trying to isolate them and come up with a sub-metering plan to help isolating and identifying where the leaks may be in complex sites. And so the commercial WaterFix is basically will adapt and move to meet whatever the particular commercial entity might be. It could be a shopping centre, it could be the airport, it could be even a defence base. I don't believe we've ever serviced a defence base. You tend to keep it all to yourselves. But we're very curious what we might find under the wraps there, from a water savings perspective, of course.
Might have to head out to Holsworthy and have a look, Andre.
Anyway, so the service is designed to adapt to what the customer requires, and basically it's the water metering that leads us to the opportunities. We have a number of benchmarks for a number of sectors, from cooling towers to hospitals to schools to offices and swimming pools and council facilities and so forth. So just looking at the water use and the patronage or the bed nights or whatever it might be for each facility, we can work out whether your water use for your facility is good, bad, or needs attention. Okay,
so what should businesses do if they want to get involved in a program like that?
Just Google WaterFix commercial and you'll get basically an email that Colin will reply to. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
There's a self-assessment tool. You can go a bit deeper and put your property address in. It'll look up your consumption with that property address, and it'll basically start the benchmarking process for you, so you can be informed before you get Con out where you lie in terms of your peers, in terms of your consumption.
All right, I'm also interested in your role in program manager for drought for Sydney Water. I know it's not a huge part of your role, but I just would like to ask, what kind of actions is Sydney Water taking with water infrastructure now to maintain our water supply into the future? What types of things are we doing when, I know it's raining at the moment, but inevitably we'll be back into a drought cycle again. So what are the things that Sydney Water are looking at with foresight?
So obviously a very big organisation, so there's many facets of what Sydney Water is doing. I'll start sort of big picture, so new development areas. There's a lot of growth in Sydney at the moment, which is driving the economy basically and driving the housing market and so forth. So part of that is working with developers to basically become water islands, so they're self-sufficient in terms of their water demand and their wastewater disposal. So it's encouraging recycling, encouraging stormwater reuse. It's trying to build resilience in the city so that we're not having to ship water from one end of the growing city to the other, but also trying to ensure that the increasing population doesn't reduce the serviceability of our network for the existing population. We've got to try and make sure that the new population is as self-resistant, self-reliant as possible. Obviously, the network will always be there in times of need, but the objective is to reduce the reliance of these new developments on the rest of the network as much as humanly possible.
Okay.
And we're leaving the market to come up with solutions. Sydney Water doesn't dictate how this must happen. We work with developers and help them model and help them test. I'm running a pilot program of a new grey water recycling system called Hydroloop. We're just about to engage a major Western Sydney developer to trial this new in-house grey water recycling system.
Yeah, right.
This is one of the examples of a project I'm running that helps developers.
A Hydroloop sounds very interesting. If I can segue then to Roger to talk about climate action. I know that this is a core part of your work. So with Andre sort of talking about that, it might be a good way to talk to you. Can you talk us through some of the key aspects of interesting things that you're working on in terms of what you're doing in climate action at the moment at University of Western Sydney?
Certainly, thanks, Joanne. So our key pillars are climate action, nature positive, and social responsibility. When we first started looking at climate resilience and our adaptability in about 2018, the importance of water cycle management was obvious and critical, particularly in Western Sydney. In our Hawkesbury campus, we were very lucky that we'd had long-term partnerships with Sydney Water. So we had a good supply of recycled water and harvested stormwater, megalitres per day, so very important, not just as a water resource and for non-drinking water users, but also for cooling. And we all recognise, and one of my key colleagues, Professor Sebastian Falsch, keeps on reinforcing that vegetation and trees are good, but they need water. They're our natural evaporative air conditioners, and they provide the cooling areas of our cities. Moving forward, we know that there are demands on corporations from our federal government, also even our universities getting from state government to do formal climate risk assessments to consider the impact of urban heat, drought, storm damage, all of those aspects. And since we started looking at those things in 2018, we had the bushfires of 2019-20. We had 3 series of significant floods in Western Sydney and Hawkesbury and throughout the eastern states, combined with COVID. I think that made urban temperatures in Penrith of 49 degrees as an ambient temperature, making a lot of our communities and people in Western Sydney realise climate risk is not future-proofing, it's here right now. We're up to our knees in it right now, and so we need to adapt very quickly. This is also coming down as a regulation. So with the amazing expertise in this room for design, construction, businesses, one of the suggestions I would have is think about those physical risks. Also think about the transitional risks for your particular facilities, for your communities, for your areas where you work, for your supply chains, for your value chains. How are you responding not just to those physical risks from climate change, but also the transitional risks, because they are opportunities through partnerships, opportunities for business innovation, opportunities for emerging technologies, which we've just heard from, from some of our sponsors. And this is really where we need to move quickly, is to develop more partnerships, innovations, technological aspects, and nature-based solutions, which is very much our strong interest for both climate, nature, and social responsibility.
Okay, so on nature-based solutions, when I think about that, I've said to you when we caught up before, that I think about things like natural sequence farming and, things that are out in non-urban settings. But what would be relevant to our audience here in urban settings? What are nature-based solutions that are in an urban setting that people can relate to in the room?
Certainly. Just a comment on those type of regenerative agriculture and landscape. So that's really working with your landscapes, being aware of your landscape and working with it for your water and your soils and all of the resource you have there. That's not just an ecological aspect, but regenerative agriculture is becoming the new land care, real social movement. So it's about people's livelihoods as much as the environment that they're sitting in. Translate that into urban or peri-urban situations. It's very much about water-sensitive urban design, but it's still the same sort of concepts in the landscape. Rainfall that we're capturing now, you don't want to let it go down the drain. That's a valuable resource. You want to harvest it on-site, storages, you want to have treatment trains, you want to make sure that you're allowing the rainfall that you do have percolate into the soil, do those sorts of things. And really there's a lot of opportunities with water-sensitive urban design. There's a great research project by our colleague Sebastian with Sydney Water, Simpact at the Olympic site, which is looking at the value of irrigation as a cooling island rather than a heat island, which is very important. And so it's a lot of a combination of more design and technology, but overlaying our understanding and working with our landscape, our drainage patterns, looking at rewilding and more vegetation along our stormwater channels, bringing back some of those ecosystem services in the edges of our built environment.
Okay. If I can bring you in, Greg, because people might be thinking, well, why is a club on a panel about water sustainability? And I'm very purposely glad that Greg's involved today, because when you are designing master planning large precincts like Greg has had to do, you have to think about these things a long way in advance, and then you also have to think about retrofitting them when you inherit a site. So I'm really interested, Greg, from your perspective as a developer, realistically as a developer and as a master planner of sites, how do large operations like what you run 24/7, 365 days a year, what are some of the considerations that you are now taking into account with your design when you're seeking out people to work? It could be in this room, they could be architects, they could be designers, they could be landscapers, they could be builders. What are the things you're looking for as a client now?
Thanks, Jo. I guess the main thing that we're looking to do clearly for a building like this is how do we go about retrofitting or reworking what's already here. I was quite amused when I was actually asked to be part of this panel because I was thinking to myself, I didn't expect quite this many people, but they'll all walk in here and they'll see water everywhere. And is it a waste? And I guess the question I'd be asking myself is it? But I did sit down with one of my guys in the last couple of days, obviously in a mad panic, trying to get some information that I could give you people. And Paul, who's sitting over here, is in charge of basically our properties and does a great job. He certainly enlightened me as to some of the things that he's doing and quite, as I say, quite educational. But in a building like this, we're trying to retrofit stuff. We're sort of going back. There's a lot of stuff here, but it's either trying to make it better, make it work better. And I've got a couple of slides. Actually, the second one, if that's possible, will show you the sorts of things that Paul drives in terms of this business. So just as one example, cooling towers. So we have a fairly major capex a couple of years back where we doubled the amount of towers. And the idea was to take the load off, which effectively at the end of the day causes less water usage. Installing sort of flow meters to make sure that we don't aerate the water by putting too much water through the pipes, which again causes evaporation. We're just about to refit all the fill in those, which is the media that basically the water runs over in the towers. That in itself is a fairly expensive job, but if you let it go, that's more water we're wasting. Interestingly, one of the things we can't control is when the authorities come in and tell us we have to empty all the towers because there's been a Legionnaires outbreak in the city 13 kilometres away. I'm not too sure how that works, but that's a bit of a challenge. So that was 16,000 litres of water down the drain. That's a challenge, and it's a challenge obviously for someone like Paul who's trying to do his best to keep the place running at the right price. But again, it's going back, retrofitting. In the new buildings, my colleague here has sort of told us sit down, think about what you can do, and if I was to give anyone advice, it'd be take the more expensive option, because at the end of the day it's going to work in your favour. And Harbord's a really good example of that. We didn't do everything we possibly could, but we started in the design right at the very pointy end of all the sustainability stuff that we could put in. Some of it got value engineered out a little bit, but there's still some really good stuff in that project.
When you're briefing in your builders now, so say you were telling someone like Painter Dixon what you were looking for, what are your sort of top three things? What are the things that you're looking for in terms of water sustainability?
Obviously, less water we use, the better off we are, not only financially, but also obviously doing our bit for the community, which clubs are community organisations, and that's what we pride ourselves on. This is just a part of being a community organisation, to be responsible in doing this sort of work. So I guess to make sure that we're doing everything we possibly can to save the water. We're all responsible for it, whether it's me or these guys or you. We've all got a responsibility to actually contribute as much as we can to saving it.
All right, well, if I can bring you in now, Mike. So Mike from Zip Water, you're an innovative company, a very proud Australian company that manufactures out of Bankstown. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what Zip's doing in terms of innovation for water sustainability?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks, Joe. Just a short bit of background if you don't know Zip Water. We were founded here in Bankstown in about 78 years ago. We're now a global market leader in sustainable drinking water. We provide instant boiled chilled sparkling water to both homes, offices, large, medium, small, to hospital education, through to education, so university, Defence Force, right across both Australia, New Zealand and across the world. We're proudly now exporting to over 80 countries, and so it's been a fantastic Australian story around that. Yeah, innovation's absolutely really important for us, but also I was going to just share a bit of a story around the trends of the water category, because this is something that's really, I think, important for Zip, the way we think about the global category. Just the global beverage market is worth about $1 trillion, global market. About 40% of that is soft drinks. And what we're seeing globally is this macro trend of soft drinks declining quite a rapid rate in Australia, but also across the globe. So consumers are looking for other options. When you start to stop drinking soft drinks, sugary drinks, what are those healthier options? Sparkling water is one of those right now. Absolutely, sparkling water is on trend. More and more people want to see sparkling water. So Zip, we've actually designed, we have sparkling water. It's about nearly half of our business within the residential sector have now sparkling water. You can have it coming out of your kitchen tap. So that's kind of one of the macro trends. The second kind of macro trend we're seeing is consumers being more concerned about their own sustainability footprint. And you think about packaged water. So packaged water across the world, there are literally billions and billions of tonnes of plastic ends up in landfills and oceans, which really does impact the environment. So part of what Zip is trying to do is to impact that And if you think about the trends of consumers now, and our kids, for those of you who have kids, you probably have numerous sort of cupboards full of those reusable drink bottles. If you haven't got your Frank Green or your Yeti or your Camelback or your Stanley pack, then you're very lucky, because most of us have a cupboard full of those if we've got kids. But it's coming through. So what's happening now, consumers are very interested to fill their water bottles from home. They then go to office. As long as there's convenient, safe, great tasting water, they'll then use that same bottle, they'll refill it. They'll then go to the gym, they might go to university, they're at school, they're in the airport, they're in a bus terminal. And so that bottle becomes something they carry. And every time they carry that, then they don't need to purchase single-use plastic water bottles. And we start to save literally billions and billions of tonnes of plastic from our oceans. So some really interesting kind of macro trends that's we're seeing.
Music to Andre's ears. Carry on drinking more water. What about for larger businesses? How does Zip Water support larger businesses in what they want to do around sustainability?
Yeah, it's really interesting. The last couple of years, ESG, no doubt, has become such an important part of that. The conversations changed significantly. A lot of large corporations, government, they have ESG teams. And so whilst the product, the features and benefits, the aftermarket, the service all become really important, there's an and. And I think what we're hearing more and more is the and is ESG. What are you doing? How can you support our ESG approaches? So we get lots of questions on, for example, how's it made? Our products are made with all green energy. We put lots of solar panels on the roofs. We source green energy. We have our products are air-cooled. They're not water-cooled. So other products in the market, for example, are water-cooled, that the water that's not used after it's cooled, so if it's not drunk after it's cooled, the unit goes down the drain. And some of those, about 18 litres per hour of water goes down the drain. And if you've got a unit that runs for 10 years, there's a lot of water going down the drain. So what's really important, so we've chosen to build innovation, and those sorts of things play a really big role when we start to have those discussions.
Thank you. Roger, can I bring you back in then, just talking about, that point that Mike was making about the circular economy? I guess I just want to ask you about that a little bit, and what should we be thinking about as opportunities in the circular economy as businesses for water sustainability?
One of the key ideas of circular economy is that we are recovering materials and energy and ideally reusing them for higher value benefits. So it you're upscaling, the value chain. I think one of the best examples of that is recycled water and stormwater, because for 100 years the idea was you have sewerage, you have wastewater. What do? You get it down the back, you pour it in the river, you get it way off. But now that is such an important resource, and probably our largest example of a good circular economy opportunity. That's very much water cycle related. And there will be more benefits and opportunities there. And it's really just trying to have that a life cycle perspective on all the products we have. You gave some great examples there. I think it's very interesting points about how we can use those sort of treatment trains which Sydney Water use and bring it down to an immediate consumer level, so that there is a product differentiation and that sort of thing. Again, soda water, what an excellent example there, because you're just retreating and you're bringing out a higher value product than people that would tend to think of drinking water as being every day. Trying to get my son to drink tap water, I have quite difficulties with that, but soda water or that sort of thing, I'm getting there.
What about, Andre, do you want to make a comment about that from Sydney Water's perspective, about the circular economy? Is there some things and innovation that Sydney Water are looking at the moment?
Yeah, probably the most direct example that I'm directly involved in is this Hydroloop technology. So it's a very new product. Sydney Water imported the first 30 systems ever to be imported to the Southern Hemisphere. And they're from Holland, Netherlands, up north. And It's basically the size of a fridge, but it can recycle 40% of household demand and keep it within the home. So all the shower water, all the washing machine water is recycled, treated, sent back to toilets and the washing machine. And any surplus every 4 or 5 hours is a treatment cycle, goes out to irrigation. And so the cycle, just as the hydro loop implies, it's a circular loop of water within the home. Obviously, it's only 40% or 45% of the water, so there's still mains or rainwater supplementing, but the footprint is 1/10 the size of a rainwater tank. Its cost is roughly the same as a rainwater tank. It uses no chemicals, no filters. It's a fully organic biological system. The most expensive component within it that could fail is the pump. It fits in the palm of your hand. It's worth about $60. It's a series of small components, and one of the unique things that relates to another long-term challenge of mine is plumbing products have traditionally in residential and commercial spaces failed silently. That is, your tap leaks safely, it leaks to a drain all the time, or a light, when it fails, at least you've got a dark room. You're going to fix that light if you want a light room. But a dripping tap or failed plumbing can typically be ignored for quite some time. No direct consequence to the user. What we see, though, is cooling towers fail silently. Rainwater tank pumps fail silently. Rainwater tanks is a classic bugbear because no one really worries about the rainwater tank failing because it switches automatically back to mains, and the only thing people check is whether the tank's full or not. And of course, a full tank is a tank that's not being used. An empty tank is a tank that's being used. So Sydney Water likes to see empty rainwater tanks. It's the first thing we check. If the tank's empty, we know there's a pump connected and it's running in the home. If the tank's full, we know the pump's not running and something's failed and it's full of rain and it's just overflowing constantly. So this concept of failing silently is preventing some circular economy benefits. And cooling towers in the commercial sector, I understand, even though this is a commercial forum, you've all got homes that you go to, so the rainwater tank issue was relevant, but cooling towers is another critical part of a business infrastructure in a warming climate. But they're regulated by the health department because of the Legionella risk. And so building managers delegate that risk to chemical companies to provide the chemicals to treat the water so that you don't have Legionella bacteria. The problem is the chemical companies would rather sell you more chemicals than address a water leakage issue. Water leakage issues actually result in more chemicals. And so you've got this perverse split incentive happening on most of your roofs. Can I get a show of hands? Actually, it's been a while since there's been any audience participation. Can I get a show of hands if you've got cooling towers on the roof of your business or your workplace? That is, if you don't have air conditioner boxes on the walls where you can see the air flowing from a household air conditioner. Can I get a show of hands? Definitely in this building, it's got over 16 cooling towers. Only a handful. Oh, yeah, no, there's a few more. I know. Good. Well done, Wendy. I know your hospitals have plenty of cooling towers. So, yeah, cooling towers are a classic. We've got consultants that nearly every time they inspect a cooling tower, they find a leak. And this is expensive water. It's pumped to the top of the building, so it's pumped by your business. It's not usually Sydney Water's pressure that gets more than about 4 floors up. It's treated with expensive chemicals, and then it's run down the drain. Okay, so it's worth having someone with expertise in cooling tower maintenance look at your cooling towers, at least, depends on the demand, but at least annually, if not 6 monthly. And this is certainly something that Con and Commercial Waterfix can do. And any good quality plumber that's experienced with this.
And Mike, from your perspective, what new technology and initiatives is Zip Water investing in? If you can tell us about them, top secret thing in Zip Water.
I can share a couple of things that we're doing, and Zip Water is always kind of led from innovation. We have local innovation here. We have a whole range of mechanical engineers, electronic engineers, regulatory people, product management, design engineers, all based here in Bankstown, actually, and all our innovation for the globe comes from here, which is something we're proud of. But from an innovation, as part of that reducing single-use plastic water bottles, we're just about to launch an entire new range of chillers, on-wall chillers. So we typically provide great solutions in the home with our beautiful tap designs and colours. We have a range in the home. We provide offices and workplaces. The missing part is on the go, we call it. So when you're in between going from work to office, is the on the go, whether it's sporting clubs, gyms, whether it's airports, bus stations, terminals. So that once consumers, we truly believe that consumers are the future, everyone will be carrying their water bottles, and they'll literally want access to convenient, safe, great tasting water. It's filtered water, it tastes great, and so consumers will carry that water. So we're trying to connect the dots, and we believe that's really going to continue to open up. And just the future state of sustainable drinking water clearly is going to be around connected product. And so, I won't talk too much more about that, but it's not new. Obviously, it's in every category. It's not in the sustainable drinking water category yet, but it's coming. That's going to just help unlock a whole range of things from, predictive servicing, predictive, filter changes, CO2 changes, and how much you drink per day, per week. Do the family drink water? Is your floor in the office drinking sufficient water? Is your staff hydrated?
Be on your Apple phone.
It just opens up a whole new world that's really exciting for drinking water.
Greg, I wanted to touch on something with you because it's something that probably businesses aren't thinking about at the moment, which is about ESG reporting that's coming down the line in 2026. So I just wanted to ask you, I'm not going to ask you technically how you're going to do your reporting, but I wanted to ask you about what are the types of things, if businesses in the room were in a supply chain for a large organisation like yourselves, where you're going to be doing the reporting in 2026, what are the types of things that businesses are thinking about, like yourself at Canterbury Leagues Club? Because small and medium businesses, large businesses are going to have to report on this, but small and medium businesses are going to need to be involved as well, because they're the ones who are going to be reporting up to the large businesses about your energy usage. So what are the types of things that a club like yourself is looking at the moment that other large organisations will have to start thinking about in the next 12 months? And also what SMEs are going to have to be thinking about reporting up to an organisation like yours?
Thanks. Actually...
and please refer to all the standards. I'm
quite comically, today I was looking at Guideline 280. For those of you that haven't, all I can say to you is I'm glad I've got a lawyer at the head of my ESG team, because I was lost. Just flicking through, I'm like, oh my God, what are we doing here? But I think to put it in perspective for an organisation such as ours, we get a million visits a year through this property. So there's an opportunity there for us, I guess, from an education point of view, to get the word out. I'll just sort of leave that hang. But I think, being what we are, who we are, we can get the word out. So 75% of those people are members. So, we know who they are, we know where they live, we have communication with them. So there's a really good opportunity for us to actually go down that education path. In terms of the SMEs, and I'll particularly refer to our suppliers, it's going to happen. And interestingly, we've just been through the process with modern slavery, where we've been out and asked people, can you tell us where you're sourcing your product from, blah, blah. You'd be amazed at the number of them that came back and said, oh, we're not doing anything with that. I was like, okay. So obviously there's an education piece there as well. And I think, not everyone's going to have the wherewithal to be able to do, effectively what we can. And clearly there are people further up the line that are, will have more ability to do stuff. But I think our responsibility is going to be around education, particularly of our suppliers, particularly for those ones that don't have the capability to actually get their hands dirty with this stuff. On I'm not saying we've got all the answers. We certainly haven't. We've got a lot of work to do, but that's where I see it going.
Roger, can I ask you to jump in here about corporate social responsibility and water sustainability? Have you got some comments about ESG reporting, and then also, did you want to talk to the audience a little bit about corporate social responsibility and some takeaways there?
Well, we try to be voluntary in engaging new and emerging methodologies. As we mainly work with environmental initiatives across the campuses, we want to make those living labs available for our students and our teaching staff to incorporate, because the biggest issue is there is a rapidly expanding demand for sustainability professionals in all large organisations now. You only need to look at LinkedIn and see what the demand is. There is not that supply of skilled people, and the number of methodologies that are coming through are rapidly changing. So one of the key social responsibilities, and certainly for universities and all of us that have some links with education training, is fast-tracking young people's ability and competence to engage with these emerging methodologies. That's, I think, our biggest challenge is we can't sit back and use the same old approaches. That knowledge creation is probably and feeding into what businesses need very soon and large organisations need now is probably our biggest challenge of corporate social responsibility.
Okay. And if you could give anybody one or two things to take away out of tonight that they can start implementing tomorrow in their businesses, have you got something that you could give us a tip on?
To me, it's two things. I'm very keen on the nature-based solutions, so trying to look afresh at your actual landscape that your facilities and your networks are embedded in, and what the opportunities are for capturing water at source, doing those sorts of landscape aspects. And as was mentioned, thinking more through your value chains, your supply chains, your supply arrangements, and what opportunities there are for innovation there. Because as was mentioned, the expectations will be driven by the larger organisations through their supply chains. So the faster all of us are able to be prepared, and even partially to give the best information and the best attempt at thinking through social responsibilities and environmental responsibilities, nature, climate risk. We're all learning as we go.
Okay. Well, we've covered a vast range of topics there. Wally, should we go to the floor maybe for a couple of questions? No? No questions allowed. Yeah, sure. Okay.
Sorry, guys. Minister Safi is about to retire. If I can trouble her to come forward for a quick presentation. Can I call on Jason and Steve from Painter Dixon, Jason from iFlex, Con from Sydney Water, and obviously Joanne for a quick... So, Bill, can you join me, please? Antoinette? Minister, if I can just quickly trouble you, Con. Sorry, Bill. And Steve, Antoinette. Just going that way, Antoinette. But Jason. And Jeff. Jeff, where are you, please? Sorry, just hand it to Jeff. Sorry, to Joe. If we can, please, if we can acknowledge our sponsors and with a nice acclamation. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mr. Safi. So, Joe, if you can up into the floor now.
Well, I'd just like it if you could join me in thanking all of our panellists tonight. It was a very broad discussion about water sustainability from lots of different perspectives. So thank you to Greg Pickering from Canterbury Bankstown Leagues Club and Andre Barima from Sydney Water, Roger Atwell from University of Western Sydney and Mike Abbott from Zip Water. And I'm sure that they'd be happy to take any questions after the discussion today. So thanks, Wally.
Thank you, guys. We have some lucky door prizes, amazing lucky door prizes. Can I? Thank you. Can I trouble the business cards? Oh, here they are. Diane, join me, please, on the stage. Come on, don't be shy. Any last-minute business cards, please? Can you bring it forward? Just nice, stand there. Can I call on Abby from the RCL group to come forward, please? Diane, just get close up. Last-minute business card here, please. So we have gift voucher from the Al Asil group for your catering, $400. We have an amazing opportunity to the Bulldogs Business Club for 3 people to attend the event. Come to the stage. And we have a dining voucher for Divino Osteria, a taste of Italy. Okay. Do you want to come stay in the middle? Yeah. Okay. Let's draw the winner for Al Asil function. And it's important, guys, when you support the local cafe, when you support local business, when you support local big brands, you are helping your community.
John Jamhur from Tile & Co. Congratulations.
Please, come up. That's fine. He's come up on the stage. Okay, Diane, the next one. So we need 3 people to go to the Bulldogs Business Club. So we need 3 cards. Okay. 1. Yep. So Excel Plumbing Group, their best. Are you still here? Come forward. Next one. Maria Mikalev, Property Investment. And Danny Mansour from iFlex. So we've got 3 people. They're going to go to the Bulldogs Business Club. Now, I will connect you with Andrew. So I've got your cards here. So consider it done. But we'll grab a photo for 3 of you. Stay here. Guys, come back. Get a photo. Carmen. Diane, you join in, please, for the photo. And our last lucky door prize, Hafley. It's a $150 gift voucher for Watertide, Greg Parcel. You can go to the city for a nice dinner. Thank you, Diane. That's it for that one. Please stay for networking. Our next events can be on Wednesday, the 16th of July, with Minister Paul Scully. It will be in this room. I will share the details about it. Our gala dinners can be on the 29th of November at the Bankstown Sports Club in the brand new function room. Saturday, 29th November. Please keep that date in your diary. The Chamber is keen to make sure that we can be a pillar of support for you. So there will be some activities to make sure that we can drive attention to how you can best utilize and drive and maximize opportunities through the Chamber. And we have an online directory. We want you to utilize it to your advantage. So there will be some sessions online to talk and explain the benefit of utilizing and tapping into our directory. So stay tuned. But for now, I'll be around, our board members around. Just come and join us, talk, chat, take photos, and please connect, and let's continue building relationship.